Welcome into 11 Personnel. It's rivalry week. Ooh, slow start. Let's start that again. Welcome to 11 Personnel presented by Monticello Bank. Nick Roush and Adam Luckett here for you on a day earlier than normal during rivalry week to get you on your way for Thanksgiving. Make sure you got something to listen to while you're on the road celebrating the holiday. Luckett, are you hitting the road? You going out and about anywhere?
Be going to Springfield on Thursday. So Bullitt County to Washington County. That doesn't really count. I mean, it's 20 minutes.
You're going over the river and through the woods. So
yeah, a little bit more than a hop, skip, and a jump. But yeah.
I'll have a few stones throws to get to the Buckeye State of Ohio. But safe travels to everyone out there. If you're listening, hope you get where you're going safely and enjoy some time and have plenty of time to be grateful this Thanksgiving season. We're grateful for our proud presenting sponsors, Monticello Bank. They've been in business for a long time. I'm bad at math, but look, I want to say it's 128 years. That's a long time. It's almost as long as we've been celebrating Thanksgiving because at Monticello Bank, it's where people matter. They're putting people first to make sure their customers get the best rates possible. Whatever you're shopping for, whether whatever your financial needs may be, Monticello Bank, they will take care of you with 21 branches in 14 counties across the Commonwealth. There's a convenient location near you. So stop on in today and help Monticello Bank finance your future. You can visit them online at nbcbank.com, and you can bank anywhere with the GoNBC mobile app. Monticello Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Luckett, I don't have it takes me a little while to get the engines revved up for this rivalry week. Because, the season, there's a lot happening, whereas in the good old days, you had 3 months of, shouting at each other to get geared up for this game. But I was listening to some other local radio shows, and that kind of got the juices flowing. So I'm fired up for the Governor's Cup to be back because – and I think it finally dawned on me that, hey, you don't get the 3 months of hype, but the fallout after this game, it's going to be tremendous for either side. So if Louisville loses, they're definitely firing lots of assistant coaches. And then Jeff Brom's probably going to be taking some real heat for the first time. He got some from that Stanford guff. But nothing like what would happen if he lost the second game to a 4-win Kentucky team. Whereas on the other side, Mark Stoops gets beat badly. The calls for him to get the hell out of here will grow louder. Mark Stoops wins again, then, it'll just take some heat off, right? Like if this was Grand Theft Auto, he'd go from 4 stars down to 1 stars. You know what I mean? There would still be a lot of disgruntlement out there. But if Cutter Boley plays well, then you've got an offseason where folks are going to be talking themselves back into it. So I'm fascinated by the stakes that are in play for this game Saturday at Kroger Field.
Nick, you're just speaking my language here. That's what I've said from the beginning. Decade now. This is why this game is played in its rightful spot. This is where it should be. I think you hit the nail on the head, but part of me thinks it'll probably play somewhere in the middle. It hadn't been this clean cut for this Kentucky team really all year. And so I think the Boley aspect has added a level of intrigue. I think Louisville losing to Stanford has added a level of intrigue to all of this. It's also a chance, for the Kentucky fans, 1-7 SEC team beats a winning record ACC team. You can't say anything about the conference. We could say whatever from the Kentucky side. We could say whatever we want about your fake conference. And so all of that, I think, is at play. I think there's the angle that could be Louisville. You just had the best quarterback you'll probably ever have under Brom. He's throwing for all these yards. He's going to end up being probably a 3rd-round draft pick.
Mm-hmm.
Our freshman's better. All of that is at table. But on the other side, it's also is this what sticks a fork in the Stoops era?
Yeah.
Is this the final body blow? and maybe maybe this is the final body blow to know like it's officially over. Like we could play another season, but the era would feel over. So both sides, I think. Yeah, I think you're right. Braum, it's a different kind of heat he would face, but he would face, I think, if he goes 0-2,
Yeah.
he loses as a favorite to what Louisville fans see as inferior Kentucky teams in both matchups. He would face some heat. I think for Kentucky, if Stoops loses this, Kentucky fans are looking at it like, all right, man, we played 5 real teams at home. We went 0-5. You played 3 different quarterbacks. Like, what is going on? Why is it heading in this direction? And why is now like the roster everyone felt great about in August? Why is it now that like I have to fix this roster? Like what happened in the middle there, right?
Right.
What happened in the middle there? I think he's going to face a lot of, from the fans, I think there's going to be a lot of pressure this offseason, but they have a trump card here this week. I think the diehards, most people have made up their mind, Stoops, but there's a trump card this week. We've talked about this all the way back in like June. It's just the individual is different. Like the thing is, if you have a good quarterback, that solves a lot of problems, and people can get behind that. That's what drove a lot of the hype in 2022 and 2023 heading into the year was what they had at quarterback.
Correct.
If Cutter Boley goes out here and does something similar to what we saw in the second half against Texas, that's going to fire up some people.
There's no doubt about it.
But if he does it, then what? Then where are you, and what are you trying to sell? Like he is like the only thing like they have left from a selling standpoint. I don't know what they sell. Say they go out here and they lose this game 27-14. The offense sputters. What are you selling for next year? And so it's just a fascinating game from that point, because this is the game that's their last chance to kind of change a little bit of the outlook. There's still going to be a lot of people down on them, but but it doesn't have to be mass. I think the whole fan base down on them if you have a quarterback to point to. But there's a lot on the line.
No, and to your point about narratives changing, it felt like Stoops has sort of done that, changed his tune going into this final week of the regular season. We'll talk about that more, but a little bit later. But I wanted to focus on Cutter exclusively first, because this is a guy that we've known about for a very long time. Back when he was at LaRue County, I don't know, 3 years ago. He was starting there as a sophomore, and then I guess he got 2 seasons at LCA. And that he was one of the first quarterbacks that Lane Kiffin offered once Lane got the job at Ole Miss. And that was like, all right, we can't let this guy get away from us now. And things didn't always look good in his recruitment when Rich Scangarello was here. I don't think those two jived at all. But when Liam returned, it made it easy for the Cats to seal the deal to bring Cutter Boley here, where I think it was abundantly clear in high school. I know there's been some questions about it, Luckett. Like you could see the throws, the stuff, but he was rail thin. I mean, he's a good athlete and he moves well, but he was rail thin. He needed some time to grow into his body. And 2, he needed to sharpen those tools a little bit. Threw quite a bit of interceptions his last couple of years at LCA. It's not like he was this guy who was dominating and win state championships. You saw that similarly with a guy like Drew Barker, where he put up good numbers, but he wasn't a winner, and that translated. So, like, you knew that there needed to be some development, some growth from Boley. They went the redshirt route, and now I was looking at the stats of Luckett. He's going to be the first true freshman to start in the Governor's Cup for Kentucky. And Destin Wade was the last true freshman to start, the only true freshman to start, quarterback for Kentucky, and that was kind of a throwaway game in the Music City Bowl. You got to go back to Mike Hartline getting injured in 08-09 when they had to juggle Randall Cobb and pull Morgan Newton's red shirt to the last time that you had true freshmen starting quarterbacks. And then before that, it's just like Couch had a few games here and there, but it's not a thing really at all. and especially now that you have, I mean, it may happen more often down the road because you can play in just a minimum of 4 and get away with it. But Boley is in, he's in a rarefied air in this case. And the first time we saw him, it was a pick 6 to Cormani McClain, a highly touted recruit who needed something good to happen for him down at Florida. It was a bad spot. I don't even think Cutter warmed up. But then they got him in Murray State in that second half. He rocked and rolled. And then he made some impressive throws at Texas. And I think what I like most about Boley is just he hasn't had enough sacks to where like Brock just kind of looks shell-shocked back there, right? Whereas Boley, he's taken a hit or two, but when the pressure comes, he looks smooth as he's getting away from it, and his eyes stay downfield. And I thought that was something that was evident even at his time at LCA. Like even when he was under pressure there, he's got his head down the field and he's waiting until the defense breaks down and finding the open guy. And then when it gets out of his hand, it's got a little bit of to it. And that we haven't seen the ball jump out of guys' hands quite that often during the Mark Stoops era. And so that's why I think there are reasons to be optimistic going against this Louisville defense that isn't necessarily the best at putting the clamps on people, but I can't talk too much trash because Kentucky ain't scored points against nobody this year, Luckett. But I think you can see a scenario where it's like, okay, he just went against the top number 2 SP plus defense in the country. They're top 10 in like every metric, and he didn't flinch. There's reason to believe that this moment won't be too big for him, and he has all the tools to succeed. It's just how consistent will he be playing in a cold weather game in an inefficient offense?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of proof it. I think from Boley's high school, like the working comp was Justin Herbert play style. Tall quarterback, good athlete, ball pops off his hands, can make a lot of throws. Probably a better athlete than you think. I think you saw some of that against Texas, right? You saw the Justin Herbert roll out, deliver a ball in a small window. It's like, how in the world did he make that throw? You saw the way he was able to stretch the field, and then you saw how he was able to break the pocket, some sack avoidance, and make plays happen. Now we have to see him continue to grow into that, but that's kind of his play style to me. And you saw that play out. And I think you saw the team have a spark when he got in the game. Now, what does that look like a week later in a heated rivalry game? 30-degree temperatures, right? Are they just like, to me, are you letting him just sling it? Like they just let him sling it against Texas for the most part. I don't know if they're going to let him do that this week. And so there's a lot of unknowns to this. I just don't know. I mean, forecasting this game is almost impossible.
Yeah.
You're just going to have to see it play out. But there was definitely some hashtag stuff there with him.
Right. I love John Hale. He always does a roundup of local media predictions. And I'm just like, man, what is that going to be? I got feels like a roll of the dice because as I mentioned the scenarios before, the win, it wouldn't be shock me if either side won big. It wouldn't shock me if either side won close. I don't even know what the most likely of those scenarios is. I think one of them that you could see play out, like you can imagine the good one where he throws for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and they win 27-20 or something like that. You can see that playing out. What I think we can easily discuss the good, right? Like the good potential outcome. But what's the bad one?
I mean, how worse can it get than what we've seen?
But I mean from like a long term, like, oh gosh, Cutter stinks too. This is a train wreck. Like what?
Yeah, he turns it over a few times. He gets blasted in the pocket a few times. Maybe Louisville gets an easy score that kind of allows them to flip the game. Just
like a 10-point lead, and then it's hard to get close. My bigger worry is
angle.
My worry though is just the long-term ramifications because
I think we're in the point of the seat. Here's the thing. Like, let's just talk about it.
Yeah.
They have to make a decision what they're going to do at quarterback next year.
It feels
Are you
like
all in? Are you all in on Cutter?
Kind of feels
Because
that way.
a week ago you weren't.
No, you were all in on Brock. Kind of. Well, if he kept it close.
To me, this is determining whether he's a starter next year. To me, for Cutter, if he plays bad, they're going to go out and get a portal quarterback. I think that's what's going to happen now.
Yeah. Okay. That was kind of my question to you. Was like, if he's bad enough, will they go get another quarterback? Because
that's what I think happens. Yes.
Because Stoops, he said on his coach's show, like, I had a very long chat with Brock, and I'm sure that was a lot to do with Brock's future and what it might hold. Just a hunch. So feels like that ship has sailed, and now you're kind of down to Cutter or other guy we don't know about yet.
Right. I think regardless, you're going to see them go out and get another type transfer like Wimsatt, where maybe a guy with starting experience at some level, maybe it didn't go too well, but a guy as insurance. So I don't think you can walk in the next year with Cutter Boley, Stone Saunders, and Brennan Ward.
No.
You have to have, like, I think that's for sure. No, like, even like if Boley throws for 500 yards, I think that's what they'll try to do.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't play well, I think, I don't think they're going to spend top of the market money, but I think they're going to look at the kind of mid-tier in the market transfers, try to evaluate those, and then go out and get the one or two, focus maybe on 3 and try to land one of those. So definitely I think that's potentially on the table. This is why this game is really fascinating, and it's part of the issue we've had with the offense all year. It's like a lack of commitment to something. It's herky-jerky. We're here. We're there. We're here. We're there. We're here. We're there.
Roy can't.
So is Cutter, like, finally, is he just the savior? That's kind of what they're asking him to be, and we'll find out. Now, Nick, I think you can make the case. Like, what defense is Louisville better than that Kentucky's played in the SEC? Maybe Vanderbilt.
That was what I was going to say. They have more pros, I think, than Vanderbilt. Gelati and
I'm taking every other defense on the schedule clear. I'm taking South Carolina. Like in a draft, I'm taking South Carolina, maybe Florida.
Especially the trenches. Like that, and I think that's what's killed Kentucky the most. And I know that's supposed to be a strength for Louisville, but like outside of Gelati, like, Renee Conga. Shaking in my bootstraps.
I think Florida and Vanderbilt are the only ones up for discussion. I think the 6 other ones, so that'd be South Carolina, Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Texas. Which one? Auburn.
Auburn's front was.
Yeah, they couldn't block the front. Those 6, I think, are better defenses than Louisville. But I think Florida and Vanderbilt, they're all kind of all in the same tier. Vanderbilt game was weird. But in the Florida game got away from them. They moved the ball and created scoring opportunities. They just didn't finish. So can Boley kind of get you over the hump there? That's really, I think, what we're watching for this game, because they're going to have to do something they haven't done, which is score against a power conference team more than 2 offensive touchdowns. But and that's a season trend. But also the trend in this game tells us they have their best, if not their best, like their second best offensive performance of the year in this game.
It's every year. The Ray Davis game last year, you had the Steven Johnson game. I mean, they put up, 41?
Even
back in
like
16?
2019.
Lynn Bowden. Yeah.
Lynn Bowden, that was the best Lynn Bowden
rushing
offense
yards.
game. Rich Scangarello year, they scored 26 points. I think they only scored more than that against Mississippi State.
Yeah.
And that was,
I think they had 28 in that game. Yeah.
But they scored 6 times. Like the game, if they finish a drive or 2 more, they could have scored 30 plus that year. So they typically perform well in the spot. It's just, what does 2021, they drop a 50 burger? This is yearly. I mean, we're talking about yearly here. This is their best offensive performance of the season. So what happens this year? Again,
what even is the ceiling? Like, because I know you feel like if it's like, all right, the best means at least 21 points against a power conference team. Can they get to 30? They might have to. Is because on the other side of the coin is Tyler Shuck is good. Like he makes some plays. Um, I know it hurt him when they lost Lacey, but
They're scoring on offense. Yeah.
Ja'Cory Brooks is a good is that was a great get out of the portal, and then Ford is a fine. They got him from high school, correct? He's just fine. Him and Huggins Bruce, they're fine players. They'll do enough, and then plus that running back, who I believe he's going to be healthy for this game. He's got some juice. Now they're not the most efficient rushing operation, and Kentucky's going to get plenty of TFLs. But as we saw against Texas, they're going to get gashed for some big plays, which is kind of it's so weird because it's so unlike this Kentucky defense in years past. I mean, they've just been getting chunk played to death, and that's what Louisville really is like. That's where their bread and butter is making a bunch of chunk plays.
Yeah, the big issue for me, I think, would be the two positions I would worry about is corner. They're going to create one-on-ones for Brooks. He's won all year deep balls. He's 10th in the nation in 20-plus yards of receptions. So Kentucky's cornerbacks, Maxwell Hairston, J.Q. Hardaway, they're going to have to win some one-on-ones. And then, Nick, I think a lot of the run defense, I think they really miss De'Aaron Jackson.
Yeah.
Like, I think losing him was monumental. You know, Alex Afari's in there, and it's his first time playing linebacker, and he's going through some growing pains.
And if you watch Afari when he makes a big play, and you're like, oh, nice, feels like it's always off tackle. Fitting the run in the interior is not. I mean, he's never seen it before.
Well, that position is very instinctual. Like, you just have to feel it and trust your instincts. You either can play in the box or you can't, because it's a very kind of instinctual position. And so it would be hard for a guy. Essentially, they said, hey, you're playing some inside linebacker in August. And so I think that's hurt them. So Louisville, that's where they could pop a big run or two. But I think at the end of the day, Louisville's probably scoring between, do I think they'll get to 35? I don't know. But they're scoring. If Kentucky defense plays semi to really good, they're scoring between probably 21 and 27, 28. So for Kentucky, I think the magic number, if you get to 28 points, you're probably winning this football game.
It shouldn't sound like a ton, but
yeah, against Louisville's defense, who's given up that a lot this year, but they haven't done that. And so, but again, they typically perform well in this game. So we will see. I mean, that's just kind of, it's going to take a good offensive performance, and with that good offensive performance is going to bring, and we're all in on Cutter Boley movement. Like, it's very easy to see those two things going together. But if they lose and the offense doesn't play well, it'll be very interesting to see how they kind of handle this offseason.
Yeah.
And then, North Carolina opens today. Guess who's at the top of the North Carolina's job boards, hot boards?
Yep. It'd be John Summerall. So, things go another way. There's a position with leverage now. That certainly makes things interesting. Before we move on to kind of what Mark Stoops kind of talked about this week and stuff for the future, because every one of these shows, it's like half game preview, half what's going to happen in December. I was talking with TJ today. There's a guarantee that there's going to be shenanigans in this game. Like, there's no way around, and there's always some shenanigans from Kentucky side in this rivalry. We haven't seen it from the bad end, but Cats are 4-7. They got nothing to lose. If things get away from them, sugar, we're going down swinging.
I don't know, man.
Bring out the Denzel Ware garbage can.
Yeah, but also could shenanigans mean they're more willing to try hashtag stuff, onside kicks, gadget plays?
It's a gadget play. Remember was it Georgia? They threw that back pass to Brock. What game was that? It was a great looking play. Was it South Carolina?
That was Ole Miss, the throwback.
Ah, yeah.
But if Louisville kicks it to Berrien Brown, would you be willing to try reverse off
I
of that?
I couldn't trust Barry and Brown to hand the ball off.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just stuff like that. I'm just more willing to go for it on fourth down. More willing to say, screw it, we're bringing the house.
yeah.
Things of that nature.
Well, especially knowing it's not only it's the last game, it's also guaranteed to be your last game. And you really are in an effort sort of mode, right? You have absolutely nothing to lose. It's Bobby Boucher in the Bourbon Bowl, right? Can't hold anything back now.
Yeah, I mean, people are ready to start the Jared Lorenz and Derek Smith comps to Cutter and Willie Rodriguez. The people are ready for that.
Yeah.
It hasn't happened yet, and you remember when it happens, but people are ready to start those comps.
We don't give Derek Smith enough credit for being awesome, right? That was ball player, and then people forget he went to NKU and played basketball at Rupp Arena against Kentucky.
Some of younger youths would remember maybe Woodson Tammy or Dusty Bonner, James Whalen.
Oh yeah. I was going through some of the old games and just Jared's first start. So if we get the Cutter Boley experience, if it's anything like the Jared Lorenzen one, his first play is the longest run of his career. It's 38 yards or something like that. And then he goes 22 of 34 for 322, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks. And Kentucky loses in overtime. What a Jared Lorenzen ride that was.
This fan base was a Willie touchdown, break a tackle, score, or Willie Rodriguez touchdown on that play or any play.
Oh, yeah.
From him becoming Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
In Austin. We are a touchdown away from this becoming the summer of Willie Rodriguez.
I mean, as much as we love CJ Conrad, have fun in the MAC, buddy. We got a new CJ Conrad here.
Yeah, so I'm just very interested to see how this plays out. Usually Kentucky, their energy level is up for this game. Not usually, it is every time they play.
Right.
Does a move to Cutter help enhance that? How does Louisville match that? I wrote about it this week in Monday Huddle, but there's a clear mental edge in this game for whatever reason. And Kentucky, they're playing with nothing to lose. So what happens in a close game in the fourth quarter? Who would be the team more likely to pucker up? I think it would be Louisville.
I think it would too. Their fan base is certainly feeling that way.
The 12 Louisville fans there would be nervous, but here in down at Brownies, there would be a lot of nervous energy in the city of Louisville or at Roosters.
They're doing the thing that Kentucky fans did for the longest time, which is here comes the backup quarterback. They're rolling their eyes when Mark Stoops announced Cutter. That really got a lot of them triggered yesterday. They also have this defeatist mindset, they relate it to basketball too. They're why does their worst player always play so good against us? And so George had a big game 20 years ago. Well, he had 10 more big games that year. He was a good player. You only remember him for that one game because you quit paying attention while Kentucky was going to the Final Four.
If there will be a meltdown online if JJ Weaver forces another takeaway in this game.
I mean, I wish that we had some sort of access to place a just JJ Weaver turnover bet because that is a freaking lock. I don't know what it is. That dude is dialed in for this game, and he's one of a lot of guys too. That was kind of what I was alluding to. Is it's not only last game of the season. I mean, this is the last time you're going to see a lot of these Wildcats, and so it makes senior day weird because you have senior day and it's not 4-year players that you recruited from high school. There's a lot of guys who have been here for 1 year and they're going to go through senior day. And then there's a lot of guys like JJ who have already been through senior day and are back. And then there's guys too that, they're just going to transfer after this year. And you don't want to guesstimate too much, but like 50% of the players that are playing on Saturday aren't going to be here next year. Conservative, that feels like a conservative guess, right?
So you would have what, like 3 guys maybe enter the draft, at least 2, with Max and Dion. I think are safe bets.
Yeah.
They have 17 guys walking on senior day.
D-Jack, Pop, yeah. D-Jack already walked previously. I'm just like
So
just the starters out there, like Zion's out after this year.
yes,
Your linebackers are both out. I know it's different because D-Jack isn't playing, but like Ribka's graduating, Ox is graduating, JJ's out.
Dion's gone.
3 offensive linemen. Who knows what happens with your receivers, right? Like that's a
Right.
portal or draft. Like it's just there's a lot that's going to be gone from this team. And Stoops said something yesterday, like it that you've kind of wondered at it because he hasn't done that before. And he flat out said it publicly too. Like some guys are going to have to find somewhere else to go.
Right.
Like they've never really cut guys loose, but they're going to be cutting guys loose too. So it's not even people that are playing, but it's guys that are at the end of the depth chart that have been there for 2 years or so. And you're like, all right, it's not working out. Time to move on. We need your scholarship. So
Yeah.
just
He
a
mentioned the
lot of
need for
moving
attrition.
pieces. Yeah. Yeah. So it's going to be a game unlike any other.
Yeah.
And you know what? You should probably go to that game. I know it's going to be cold, but you're going to love the football weather. So go visit Game Time, gametime.co. Download the Game Time app, put in promo code KSR. You're going to get $20 off your first purchase with the Game Time app. Terms apply. Just go ahead. Maybe you haven't been to that many games this year, but like screw it. It's Cutter Boley time, right? You might get to see Cutter cut it loose. This could be the dawning of a new age. We've seen the Louisville and Lamar Jackson take off by handing the keys to him. What if that happens with Cutter Boley? It wouldn't be crazy. So go ahead. Tickets aren't that expensive. There's going to be a lot of juice in there, and it's finally football weather. And when you use that promo code KSR at Game Time, there's $44 tickets. You can get $20 off that. Great deal with Game Time, and these tickets are going to go directly to your phone right after you purchase them. It's easy peasy, lemon squeezy. $27. I mean, the best deals, they're on Game Time, whether you're going to Kroger Field, wherever it may be. Just swipe the GT picks. They'll get you the best rate and the best seat. See your seat before you buy with the Game Time app. Promo code KSR. Man, that zone deal, $22 for that zone deal. Use your promo code. Early Christmas present for your friends and family. That's Game Time, the best ticketing app in the world. Check them out today. Like it, I know you would rather be out in the cold, but much of December we're going to be spending just behind our computers, checking looking to see the portaling, what's happening, what's going on. This feels like it's the most open Stoops has been thus far. And I mean, yesterday in general, we can just say Stoops struck a different tone for the first time in a long time when talking about the future, where instead of like, oh, look at all, woe is me, I'll go look at all this stuff I got to do. It's, hey, we actually have some things in place. We're in as good a shape as we've been in, and I'm excited about it. And here's kind of what we're going to do. And he laid out like a lot of the stuff that they want to do. And I was fascinated and also encouraged because up until this point, it was like you were gonna drag him yelling and kicking, screaming out of here. At least now he at least has the appearance that there's a plan and he's focused on executing a plan that he believes can fix things. Now, will it? I don't know, but it at least sounds like they have a sound plan in place to move forward in the portal.
Yeah, I think they definitely was message sent that he was locked in, ready to go. You know, there was fundraising talk, but it was that we have all this money committed, essentially. We have resources.
Yes.
Which means we've got cash in the coffers. At least that's what it means to me. And so how does that work? How do they go about, who on this team do you want to pay big money to keep them?
That was one of my things is they prioritize retention first. So it's like retention, acquisition, high school players. That's kind of how their money distribution works out. But to your point, I don't know how many of their quote unquote tier one guys are big money guys. And so, but that's probably a good thing, right? Because you have freed up room. One of them that I would personally prioritize are those D linemen on the interior and Keyshawn Silver and Josiah Hayes, because they will be able to fetch a good price on the open market. Outside of that, like I don't have strong opinions, and I can be talked into certain ones one way or the other. Obviously, if Cutter goes out and lights it up, you want to make sure he's well taken care of because you're riding with him for the future. But I'm with you there. I'm with you there.
Yeah, I think Cutter would be an easy one. But yeah, I mean, do you have more money than maybe normal because of that?
Mm-hmm.
It was really fascinating to see just how they kind of attack and what positions they attack. Like, to me, I look at it that you need 3 starters on the offensive line, center, both tackles. You need 2 receivers. Like, you need 2 receivers that can play for you next year. I think you need a nickel, potentially. I think,
Edge.
safety. Where's your safety depth at? You're losing Christian Story. Do you want to – how are you at safety? Edge, yes.
Edge is a big one. Hard to find.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of your biggest ones. That's probably where they're going to have to spend the most money. I think a linebacker, like we talked about. I think they have to go out and get at least one starting linebacker.
Well, and they recruited a lot of high school linebackers, and you wonder how many of those are in that group of, all right, we kind of need your spot. We tried this. It's not working.
Yeah, and so I just think defensive line-wise, do you need another, like a depth piece or maybe another potential starter? There's just a lot for them to parse through, and they've got a lot of team building to do personnel-wise. How many guys do they lose off this roster? What is like – I'd like to know ballpark how many transfers they would like to bring in. We've seen them hover around, 12 to 18, 16. Like, are they trying to do
25?
25 like we've seen a lot of schools, not a lot of schools, but the top of the portal, I would say Fisher, like the top portal teams, which, you're looking at Louisville, Colorado, Ole Miss, and a few others in there, specifically teams with new coaches. They're up there towards the 30 number. Are you willing to get up to with them? Is that's what you're doing? Like, I'm just fascinated to see how they spend those resources that they have acquired.
Pete Nakos wrote something about it today, and you can have access to all of his content with On3 Plus. If you sign up for KSR Plus, promo code UK1 get you the next 2 months for only $1. So go ahead, try that out because you have insider access to stuff like that, to coaching hot boards. And the one that there's 2 other schools that Nakos mentioned outside of the norm, and that was Florida and Sellers at South Carolina. I should have just said Lagway and Sellers. Basically, they're like, hey, we got these young quarterbacks. We're invested in them. We got to make sure that they have the tools to succeed. So you're going to have a lot of opponents that you're competing against in the portal for players. I found that to be fascinating as well.
To me, it's like you got to have a certain amount of money to play ball, obviously. But to me, they'll probably have their 3 to 4 big fish that they sign. But what's going to separate them is the mid-tier portal guys.
Mm-hmm.
Eval and hit rate on those guys.
Can you get Turnzon Childress into a starter?
Yeah. You need more of that. You need a strong eval and hit rate on some of these mid-tier transfers.
I don't have a lot more on other than just, we're already monitoring some transfers. You got a Harvard center that's in the portal. There's some other recruiting happenings. DJ Miller, top 500 wide receiver. He's expected to make his announcement today. And Cats could be locking in another player. So there's some small stuff to monitor, but the big stuff, I think you'll get people announcing that they're going into the portal, but that doesn't open until December 9th. So a week from Sunday is when the portal will officially begin portaling. That's right? So
Yeah, that's right. But once these
other
games
schools.
in, the players are going to start announcing.
Correct.
So by the time the window gets here, we're going to know who's going in, and we're going to know players Kentucky are legitimately interested in probably before signing day on the 4th. Like all of that stuff is got. I mean, that's why I say enjoy Saturday afternoon, because once that's over, once we sit down Saturday night, that's when the stuff starts, and it'll go for a month. It's just going to be off the wall.
Prepare for it. We got another wrinkle thrown into it too earlier.
You enjoy your Friday, you enjoy your Thanksgiving, Nick. Enjoy your Saturday covering the game. But once we get off, or once we get home, it's on.
It was certainly on last year. I was glad we weren't traveling from Louisville to Lexington when all of that happened. Louisville road game, always my shortest commute every other year. I did want to just bring up though, you mentioned Mac Brown. They finally, it was very weird. He mentioned retiring midseason, and then he mentioned retiring midseason again, and then he ends up getting fired midseason, which is a very very funny route that they took. But it was actually his buyout is less than what they owed him for next year. So it was kind of a no-brainer move for them. You're already seeing the fallout with, they had a 4-star edge, 4-star quarterback that are kind of looking elsewhere now. Portal's going to open for those guys. But, Andy Staples puts out his hot board. The Athletic, they put out their hot board. John Summerall's the first candidate on that list. And people think pretty highly of that North Carolina job. And I think that's the first position that, oh, okay, this could cause some dominoes to fall. I love the thought, just joking aside, like there's a hilarious thought of like Dan Mullen was out there and it's like, yeah, like they're going to hire another ESPN analyst to come back out of retirement, basically, to come, like that would ever happen. But then you also got to think about it too. Like Stoops probably thinks he could go there and win if he wanted an out, that's one of those conceivable outs.
Yeah, I don't see North Carolina going that route, but I think there's other schools that could come open that you could see.
True.
But none are open right now. Obviously, because North Carolina's only power conference job open. For Summerall, I think, obviously, he's the top G5 coaching candidate.
Yes.
Power 5 jobs opens, a mid-tier Power 5 job opens. That's going to be an automatic link.
Right.
North Carolina's no matter what the names are, a school like North Carolina is always going to reach out to that candidate. And so we'll have to see how that plays out. If Summerall makes the playoff, changes things for anyone involved. So that's something to remember.
In my mind, I don't think he would want to stray too far from the Deep South. But that's just my, where my head's at. Recruiting kids from Alabama to go to North Carolina doesn't seem like his forte. But just something to kind of put your feather in your cap. Think on it. Think a little bit. It's out there.
I mean, Carolina's an attractive job for a lot of reasons because you can get players there, and the league's winnable.
Yes.
SMU's playing for a league title in year one.
It's crazy.
League's winnable.
Oh man, it's the ACC. It just means less. Yeah, I don't know. What else you got for today?
Yeah, expect the unexpected. Always with this team. I'm right down the middle with this game, Nick. I don't know what side I'm going to lean on. Close win one way or the other for either side. Louisville's defense is bad in the red zone, sub 100 red zone touchdown percentage. Maybe that's the medicine Kentucky needs this week to get going. I mean, really, all of this, to me, it all surrounds kind of Cutter Boley. Like, he's the story in this game.
Well, here goes nothing.
I do think, like Matt's talked about this, how big of a game it is for Stoops. I agree with a lot of that. Like, you win this one, it's going to be a off season filled with some pessimism, but a lot of people are still going to be hanging in there with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think you lose this one,
It's hard to.
that pessimism ramps up, and this, I think, within the fan base, like I think you're seeing it on our message board, it's going to get toxic with the fan base, with people wanting him gone, going against people that are like more like, so wait and see. And that's all that's going to surround the team in the offseason, or when you talk about the team. Like, it's going to be hard to have a conversation about the team without that coming up. And some of this, Nick, is at some point this heat is going to switch to Mitch Barnhart. Because at some point this heat is going to turn to the contract. Same with Cal. Like, at some point during the Cal stuff, that the heat turned to Barnhart because of the contract. Because you felt like you were stuck. And that's kind of how you could see where fans could conceivably and logistically and reasonably take that stance.
And you've already got some in call-in shows and whatnot. And it's not very loud, but some of it's out there. Because the other part of it too is like, well, if it's the contract, I mean, there's also got to be like you've got to be able to weasel your way out of it if you made this mess, sort of deal.
Yeah, and not to look too far ahead, but I believe they open with Toledo next year, first game.
Jason Candle.
And if you got, let me check. I'm gonna make sure that's right before I say what I'm gonna say. Kentucky future football schedules.
Well, FBSschedules.com.
Yeah, future. What is next year? 2025.
Yeah, gosh.
They open with Toledo. Week
Holy
3,
rock.
my Eastern Michigan Eagles come to town.
Road Dogs. I know Will Luckett's playing.
They open with Toledo. Toledo is consistently a pretty good team. You know, they're not winning the MAC this year, but they smoked Mississippi State. Candle runs a good program. That's a scary game one. It's a scary game one, especially with a team that's going to have a Kentucky team that's going to have a lot of new pieces. Fan base borderline ready to revolt. That's a scary game. I mean, that's a scary game one. So,
wow, Luckett's he's already calling for an upset.
I'm not calling for anything. I just think looking ahead, it's like, well, that's not the team I would want to play with a total, like, if you're bringing in this huge portal roster, everything's all this new, I would want FCS Southeast game one to settle into the year. I would not want to play a team that, you know, when Toledo's good, they're a top 50. Like, when they got it humming and they have a good team, they're a top 50 college football team. They're a team that could beat bottom of the end SEC teams. So it's just a scary game one, potentially. And I think, again, you need Boley to be good right now. That's the best and most clear path forward, I think, for them.
It's the Dayquil and the NyQuil all in one. It cures all your ails.
It's the magic potion. They need that to be good. And if he goes out, plays well against Louisville, they win. I think that solves a lot of problems.
We'll see.
And I also think that's one, you have money, but I think that's something you can sell.
Yeah.
Like, we got this young quarterback who is a player who's going to play, who's going to be a draft pick. Wide receiver X, come play for us. We've got this money for you. We got a good quarterback. Come play in our system.
There's a lot on the line, a lot riding on Cutter Boley. It's got us a little fired up for this game at the end of an otherwise ugly 4-7 campaign. But we're going to be fired up when it does arrive. Noon kickoff on Rivalry Saturday. We're going to talk about all the Rivalry Week games, though, tomorrow on Pigskin Preview. Just moving things up a day early this week to get you ready for Thanksgiving football and whatnot. And then next week we will be back on Wednesday doing a show to recap signing day, our first early signing day. They're calling this the earliest signing day. I like it. Earliest signing period.
Yeah, good QB play can fix almost anything except the Cincinnati Bengals in 2024.
Oh man, that's like the only thing they have.
And I mean, they have the best, and they can't figure
And
it
it
out.
still doesn't matter. Still doesn't matter. Well, we hope you have a safe and happy Thanksgiving out there. We're going to be hitting the road, so stay safe out there. Appreciate you all listening to 11 Personnel. We'll see you soon. For Adam Luckett, I'm Nick Roush. Go Cats, go Crow Green.